When doing a rhetorical analysis, rather than a context, audience, or purpose analysis, you must pay attention to all elements of the rhetorical situation and how they affect one another. This does not mean that you are analyzing each element of the rhetorical situation at the same time. This would be incredibly difficult. Instead, you should pick an entry point, make a hypothesis, and then track down the consequences. What I mean by this is that you should make a hypothesis about what the purpose is, who the audience is, what some strategies are, or what the relevant contextual information is. Once you make a hypothesis about one of these rhetorical elements, you can then see what the consequences are for the other elements. For example, let's say I start with context. If I'm analyzing a website, then the medium is going to carry with it some consequences for who the audience might be. They must have internet access, some internet literacies, knowledge of the language used on the site, or access to a good translation program, and so forth. Considerations of kairos could then help us focus our understanding of audience even further, but so too could strategies. My point here is that doing a rhetorical analysis is going to involve numerous hypotheses that will have to be tested against the other elements in the rhetorical situation. There are lots of different places you can start in such an analysis, but you should probably not start with the hypothesized purpose. It is easier to hypothesize an audience, strategies, or the relevant context in an active communication than it is to hypothesize the purpose. Once you have insight on the other rhetorical elements, it is a simpler process to hypothesize and check a purpose. In the following sections, we'll return to these other rhetorical elements and review what we've learned about them. But one final note on the process of hypothesizing these rhetorical elements. It may seem overwhelming at first, but you already have all the tools you need to get started. Some techniques that might be especially helpful include free writing, list making, and mind mapping. So keep this in mind as you begin to engage with invention in this module and the next.